the 4 pillars to what makes a balanced musician. The first pillar, I think, is the one that we all share. It's the creative pillar. The pillar where we all want to put our all into an instrument, a DAW, a program for music, and to do well in it, to be able to make some kind of career out of it. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is physical well-being, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Whether that be eating really well, exercising, of course, we ideally want to be able to do all of those, but sometimes, life gets tough, so, you try to do what you can there. Third is mental well-being. I can definitely speak more on that because I went through a lot of judgment with my family, and in some ways I'm still going through some of the difficult parts of that as well. And the fourth one, which I don't think a lot of musicians appreciate enough, is financial well-being. There's this stigma behind the arts and becoming a musician. And it's that, if you go into music, you're not going to make money. You can't become wealthy off of being a musician unless you make it big. All those things. And I used to think that way as well. But we'll just tackle each pillar one by one. Kind of just have a one-on-one conversation, you and I. And just, we can kind of just delve into those topics and, share our thoughts. See if you can take anything from what I'm thinking. The first pillar is creativity. A lot of that is something that most people just feel from within. You see it from the things that you were influenced by growing up. For me, it was like R&B, Bruno Mars, like just that R&B nature is something that I gravitate to a lot. And sometimes that creative side of us, it's sometimes hindered by criticisms, and especially our own criticisms. And every time I think about this, I think of someone named Ira Glass. And I don't remember the quote verbatim, but he basically says that our thoughts, right, the things that we imagine, the ideas that we see, they are very valuable. Even though we think our work isn't. And the reason for that being is when you're just starting out, when you're building up your skills, you see that your skills are still at a place that aren't at a professional level or where you want it to be. But your ideas, they're cool, and they are worthy of being deemed professional. These visions that you have as a creative, as a visionary, these are things that are cool and should definitely be considered. And you should give yourself the credit for seeing these things. You just have to give yourself the time to execute. The execution part is failing over and over again and seeing how you can kind of improve over time. The second pillar is eating well and, making sure that you're exercising, all that stuff. I won't go too much into this, but the example I have personally is I have the AM shift of my job. And my shift is from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. without fail, almost 5 days a week. And that shit gets tiring. I'm not gonna lie. I wake up at 4 to drive out and catch the bus to get to work at 6, and then I don't get home until like 4. That's basically 12 hours of my day gone. And when I didn't really think much of it, I would just kind of, sleep late, not really eat well, and not take care of myself. And to some degree, it's still kind of hard now, but but it really took a toll on me. especially creatively as a musician, when I was just so tired. All I would want to do is just doom scroll, go on my TV, play some video games like Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, and just turn my brain off because I didn't have the energy for it. So I would encourage you to definitely try to, look into drinking more water, seeing the things that you can replace when eating. Like instead of a Coke, try water with what is it? Those like fruit flavoring things. Yeah, those things. Like just for example, try replacing the small things in there. Third pillar is mental well-being. And for me, a little bit of background might be helpful here. I originally went to college actually for coding. I started out with coding, and then I wanted to become a musician, but then I realized that wasn't going to work, so then I went into trying to double major as someone who codes and someone who did music. And it was just so tough on me, because the reason why I went to coding was because of the pressures around me. Coding is so easy. It's easy to get a job. You're able to make money off of it, said my family. Music won't make you money. Music is very limiting. It's just a hobby. And I ate up that belief like you wouldn't even know. But then eventually, my girlfriend helped me open my eyes to this. And she helped me see that at the end of the day, if I go to my office job and I code, I make money, but I'm freaking miserable. What's the point? Sure, you can say like, oh, music won't put money on the table. Coding will. It'll give me enough money and stuff like that. Sure, but then no one ever talks about budgeting. No one ever talks about how investing can definitely change the trajectory of where your future will be. You don't have to be rich to make money, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But after that conversation, I found my will to break free and to go in a direction where my family couldn't. My family is made up of a lot of musicians, by the way, and they all decided to do different things. So in a way, they were kind of projecting how they felt, their beliefs onto me. And at some point, I just had to say, I have to find out for myself if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then I will find my own way. And so I did. I became a full-time musician in school, and I graduated with a music tech degree. And right now, I'm starting with a job that's around $52K a year as an audiovisual technician. It's not that great, but it's a place to start, and it's doable. Which leads me to my fourth point, financial well-being. I am going to tell you that it is possible, 100% possible, to live as a musician, to be able to make a career as a musician, and to definitely become wealthy as a musician, even if you don't become famous, even if you're not like a pop star. You don't have to be extremely spectacular. You just have to have good self-discipline and control. What do I mean by this? I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people on Wall Street, a lot of people who make a lot of money, are still living paycheck to paycheck now. And it sucks, like, when you think about it, why is it that the people make so much more money than me? People in the six figures. How are they still living paycheck to paycheck? And it's because they are living in a way where they're not paying attention to what truly matters to them. It's really easy for money to go out the window when you don't pay attention to what you're spending money on. If you're going out and eating Chipotle every day, if you're going out and always getting a meal going to work, that is like $10 to $15 out the window. every day. In a week, you know how much that is? That's around like $70 to $90. But let me give you perspective. $70 to $90 a week is around, let's say, $300 a month. $300 a month for 40 years will make you a millionaire. Let me explain how. It's not through just putting it in your savings, it's putting it into investments. And I used to be really afraid of investments, but I'll just give you a quick breakdown. If you invest in the right things, like VOO is a S&P 500, which means it's a collection of the top 500 companies, okay? And I'm pretty sure if you've lived on this earth and have seen TikTok, you know people talk about inflation a lot. Inflation is when prices are going up constantly. Well, if you invest in the top 500 companies, it follows inflation basically. And as those companies grow over time, which is inevitable, your money will grow with it by a minimum of 7% a year. And if your money grows 7% a year, it compounds, meaning it'll stack on top of each other. If I invest money this year, it'll increase by 7% next year, and then 7% of that, and then the next year 7% of that, and it keeps growing. That is done through discipline. Wealth is best built through time. And if you know the game plan, you're able to do it as a musician. It's possible, I'm telling you. It doesn't mean that you have to do extensive research and learn how to invest in one company like Tesla or Apple. If you want to just start simply, drop your money into an S&P 500. Seriously. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm dropping money into something that is guaranteed to work, even if it's slow. And you might say, $300 a month, I don't have the money for that. I understand. Start small. I don't care if it's 10 bucks, 20 bucks, 50 bucks. It's not just about the dollar amount, it's the principle. It's the feeling of being able to put money aside and say that I am going to set money aside for my future. When I make more money, as I get more comfortable, I'll put money aside. As I see the lifestyle choices that I'm making, instead of having Chipotle 5-6 times a week, I'll put that money to the side and maybe put that into savings, put that into investments. In the future, I'll probably talk a little bit more about finances, especially as a musician, but I just want to tell you that you don't have to fall into the beliefs that to become a musician, you have to live in this way where you're always scrounging for money. There are mindsets, there are ways of putting your money into place so that it works for you. 4 pillars: the creative, the physical, the mental, and the financial. If you have those 4 pillars in place, it's really hard to knock you down. And I encourage you to think about it, and you know, always feel free to kind of just talk to me about it. There are many ways to reach me. You know how to find me. Yeah, that's about it, and I'll talk to you guys next time.